Today I'm gonna review We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This was a really pleasant, very short read. I think it took me about 2 days to finish. It's like 200 pages, and you can see that the print is kind of large. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is about 18-year-old Mary Catherine Blackwood, who lives with her older sister Constance and their uncle Julian in their family estate. There used to be 7 Blackwoods, but now the 3 of them are the only surviving ones. After one night, a fatal dose of arsenic gets mixed in with the sugar. This was obviously a murder, and Constance was originally the one who was accused of it because she's the one who does the cooking. But after the trial, she had since been acquitted, although she is still the one the villagers blame. Because of this, she never goes beyond the house's garden. So Mary Cat is the one who runs errands in the village a few times a week, and when she goes, the villagers are actively hostile towards her and harass her. And just overall, the Blackwoods are not very well liked. I think even before the murder, they weren't exactly on good terms with a lot of people, but since then they are definitely not on good terms. Regardless, for the sisters, their days pass happily in isolation and in routine until one day their cousin Charles shows up to the house. Mary Cat is the only one who senses the danger that he brings into the lives of herself and her sister. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is very much a ghost story absent of ghosts. The entire time you're enveloped in this extremely uneasy atmosphere, and it's difficult to pinpoint why. Mary Cat is a practicer of sympathetic magic. Throughout the book, she buries things, she nails like books to trees, thinks up of words that, if they're never said, would ward off evil. And this is the least strange thing about her. As our narrator, and it's worth noting she is somewhat an unreliable narrator, we do follow the paths to all of her honestly strange behaviors towards things, but in the moment in the book, they appear entirely reasonable. In regards to the feeling of uneasiness beyond Mary Cat's actions, it is very clear from the beginning that there is something wrong with Cousin Charles, and with the murder as well. You know it's strange, and there's a sense of like bad things, but it's hard to put specific words on what about it. I've seen this book classified as a mystery, and it is because you don't know who did the murder. I think more so it is just a look into the lives of these 2 sisters who love each other, and an exploration of what it means to have a happy and fulfilling life. Because for the entire book, it is up in the air who did the murder, but it's not really stressed. It's just sort of like you don't know, and then the book just progresses like through that. Until Cousin Charles arrives, the 2 sisters only had each other, as they have been so severely shunned more or less by the town. A few friendlier faces try to encourage them to break out of the bubble, like they do have an older woman who visits them. I don't remember if it's once a week, but she visits and she always tries to convince, particularly Constance, that it's time for her to leave the house, that she needs to become reacquainted with society, despite the fact that the entire town believes she murdered her whole family. But for Mary Cat, reintegrating to society seems wholly unnecessary for her. When Charles arrives, Constance, who although is 10 years older than Mary Cat, is the more naive of the 2, is tempted and starts to believe that she does need to, reintegrate. And the book leaves you asking whether or not their voluntary isolation is a sort of complacency from them after this terrible event happened, or if it is truly what makes them happy, and that's alright. Shirley Jackson also wrote the short story The Lottery and The Haunting on Hill House, which is probably her most famous work. I haven't read The Haunting of Hill House, but after reading this I am interested because I enjoyed the way this was written. The writing style in this is very deceptively simple. Like, in addition to just being relatively short in words, it reads extremely fluidly. But that doesn't mean that the concepts in here are also simple. And I guess that's what I mean in the beginning when I said this is a pleasant read. Like, the story is very self-contained, and the writing style is incredibly easy to digest, which I appreciate. I think it's so hard to end stories, just because, like, especially when they're good, it's like, you know, I want to keep interacting with this and finding out more about, like, these characters and stuff. But I was extremely satisfied with the way this book wrapped up. I knew basically nothing about this book when I picked it up. I got it for, like, 30 cents at a secondhand store. It definitely didn't detract. It might have even added to my experience of reading it. I don't even think I actually read the back of this book until I was partway through. I just forgot to, I guess. Although the back is slightly misleading. Like, the first line at the top is, "All is peaceful at the Blackwood estate until a murderer strikes." I guess that's not false, but with the story chronologically, it begins 6 or so years after the murder. So it's not this, you know, Agatha Christie type whodunit. Anyway, getting back to the point, the book does a really good job introducing you to the world of these characters, the lives they're leading, their relationships with each other, while still leaving a good amount of mystery, you know, enough to keep you engaged with the story. Also, I found out after I read this, which I feel like happens a lot when I read books, they're coming out with a movie for it soon-ish. Sebastian Stan is in it, who in high school I was big into Marvel, and the second Captain America movie was like my shit. So, to be honest, a little excited about that movie. Don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I do like him. Something else I did appreciate is that this book is about women, and it's written by a woman, and I've been reading a lot of things lately, like Wicked was about a woman, but I think extremely clearly written by a man. The book I'm reading now, a lot of men in it. But this is a book about women and, well, about sisters and their relationship to each other, and it's, I find, to be extremely refreshing. I'm sure there's, you know, many books out there about women that are written by women, but I don't think I've read enough. Especially in, like, school and stuff. A lot of the required readings are by, like, old men authors, like, you know, Great Gatsby, Catcher in the Rye. What else do you read in high school? God, I'm getting, like, so old. In Cold Blood, Lord of the Flies. I think that's a pretty staple high school book. Like, they're all good books, they're all fine books, but they're all, like, these are, like, men. And men's stories are universal because they're about men, and women's stories are about women, and that's it. So, I do recommend this book because it's so short to basically everyone, and I would recommend it specifically to people who like witches, who want to, like, read about women, sisterly love, people who like spooky stories but kind of want to break from, like, hardcore horror and just want the general atmosphere. I think also this book, now that the weather is getting a little chillier, it's good. It's a good fall read. The whole time I was picturing it taking place in fall, but I think it was, like, spring or summer. But it, for me, it's a very, like, autumn story. Maybe it's because it's spooky and because of Halloween, even though fall is not the only season you could read or watch scary things. I want to put out a video once a week just to kind of get me on some kind of schedule with something creative. I know last week's video was bad. That's why I did not title it as a review, because it was not a review. I was literally just talking for 10 minutes. I tried to fix some of the problems I had with the last video. I shut off my AC. I'm trying not to say as much. I use it really as I mean, it is a filler word, isn't it? Like, between sentences, just to indicate I'm continuing an idea, but in videos, when you can, like, repeat and edit stuff, it's just a little annoying. And I also recognize I have marble mouth, so I'm trying harder to remember to dictate my words, and honestly, hopefully that carries into my real life so people can understand me when I speak. I think I will be putting another book review out next week. It will be about a graphic novel I read if I do a book review. I'm considering also doing a movie review. I have an idea for a series of movie reviews I want to do, and I'm deciding if I want to do that in conjunction with the book reviews, like 2 videos a week, or how I want to go about that. Ending things is so hard every time, isn't it? So, I'm just gonna go. Bye!